Good evening and blessings out there on Facebook, YouTube. Hey, it's your man, Rod Hickman, Generational Wealth Builders, where poverty ends with us. Look, so glad to be on tonight to come and talk to you tonight about the importance of financial literacy in the community. I'm quite sure every one of us have seen on social media, on the news, that right now there are a lot of situations going on, a lot of uncertainty around just truly understanding money. And so it was my goal, and it's always my goal here at Generational Wealth Builders and just overall in the community to make sure that we get the message of the urgency of having financial literacy. I talked to some of the young people and I'm mystified about how they just don't really have an understanding or even really comprehend about financial literacy. But listen, I'm not going to be the one talking tonight. We have a tremendous individual that I'm going to introduce to you all. He hails right now pastoring out of the Osceola, Arkansas area. Mighty man of God, very astute businessman. And y'all know how I feel about entrepreneurs, but he has done a tremendous job in Osceola in building the community and building a body of believers that have financial literacy. And so it is my privilege and my honor to introduce everyone to the Right Reverend Superintendent, Pastor Archie Thomas, the pastor and founder of Living Word Cathedral Church of God in Christ. Welcome to the conversation, sir.
God bless you, sir. Glad to be here on your podcast, and thank God for this opportunity to connect with you and the people. And we also appreciate God for the opportunity for you to come down and talk to our community about financial literacy. We're looking forward to that.
Exactly right. And so again, I'm gonna just kind of share my screen for everybody to see it. So on April the 29th, we are going to be in Osceola, Arkansas, there to share with the community again about just products and services that will be able to help them during this time. And so again, we're super excited, sir, that you would open the door because real talk, a lot of people aren't doing that these days. A lot of people just like it's all good. We'll figure it out. So, Superintendent, want to get started. Won't you do me a favor and introduce yourself to people? Because again, I know you're a military man. I know you have we've shared some conversation, but won't you just introduce yourself? Tell us about where you come from and how you got to the point of where financial literacy meant so much to you.
Well, sir, the first of all, I'm a product of Arkansas. Been in living pretty much in Arkansas the majority of my life. I did 22 years in the military. I'm retired veteran. Been pastoring for 22 years as of this year. Been married for 33 years. Thank God for that. I
Yep.
met my wife in January, and we got married in April of the same year.
Yep.
It has been 33 years for us, so we thank God for that. And so I've been pastoring for 22 years and living in a small rural community, maybe 7,000, 7,500 people. Maybe the county, Mississippi County, may used to be around 20,000, but a lot of people have left the county. But I realized that in our community that there is a deficit of financial literacy, and me personally, I probably maybe the last, I would say 15, 20 years, I've been more focused on financial building more than the rest of the part of my life. And so uh, I've actually partnered with banks to come in and teach financial literacy, budgeting. I've actually, years ago, I purchased the Dave Ramsey uh, Financial Peace University financial information for the church,
Mhm.
and we not only presented that to the church, but we also presented that to the community as well. So I just feel that we have to teach our people about finances, and I know sometimes that's a hard discussion because a lot of people that don't have the financial resources, so they think
Mhm.
they feel that, well, that conversation is really for me because maybe I don't have the best job, maybe I don't have enough money coming in. But actually, regardless of what you have coming in, you can always build a capacity in that, whatever that you do. And so I just love, helping the community and sharing whatever knowledge that I have and the knowledge of others, to not just my parishioners, but those within the community that I work and live. And so I'm excited about this, another opportunity to present to the people a way to be blessed in a sense.
Amen. Amen. That's tremendous. Now, you said something that I got to go back to. You
Mhm.
said, so they think, meaning that people don't think they have enough money to really be able to do what they need to do. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, some people, when you basically just say living from paycheck to paycheck,
Mhm.
you feel that there's no way out of that. But I have seen, and some of the old school people,
Yes.
the older people that's on a fixed income may only have $1,000 or $1,200 coming in a month. But those old people, some of them literally have more money in the bank or in their bosom
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
than a lot of people that's working a 9 to 5 job 24/7. They know, the older generation knows how to save, know how to put away for a rainy day. But the people of today, not all of them, but a lot of them of today, it seems like that when they get in that rut, they just feel that there's no way out. But all it takes is just a little alterations in their spending, in their management, and they will learn too how to build wealth in that process. It might be a slow process, but it could be a snowball effect where you start off with something small, but if you keep on rolling it like a snowball, then eventually you have yourself something big. And so that's what I meant by that.
Absolutely. And that makes sense because that's one of the principles that we teach here when we work with clients. Um, exactly to the point that you're making, a budget is the roadmap to where you want to be financially. And if you don't have a budget, then you don't really know where you want to be. And whereas a budget makes your money work for you, not having a budget means you work for the money.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's why we see people all the time chasing a dollar because they don't have a budget. One of the examples that I like to use is how people go into Walmart, and I'm quite sure every one of us is guilty of it. Now, we ain't gonna act like we're not. Um, but you go into Walmart with the expectancy to say, I'm going in to spend $25, right? $80 later, right? You're coming out with stuff that maybe you didn't necessarily need, right? And so again, we just have to wrangle in just that kind of ad hoc spending. And that's one of the reasons why we try to teach about a budget and teaching that if you start to live by that budget, to the great point that you made, no matter what you have coming in, you'll always have something left over.
That's right.
That's a
That's right.
phenomenal point. So let's talk about this. Um, how, and I know you got to get ready to go, so I'm gonna make this quick. How,
Well, I have a little bit more time.
okay, so let's talk a little bit about the benefits of financial literacy. You talked about what you did in the ministry about getting the Dave Ramsey course and things of that nature. What are some of the benefits that you have seen, as well as Living Word Cathedral have seen as a result of having financial literacy?
Well, so one of the things that I see is more and more people buying houses. Financial literacy is pretty much the ability to manage your finances. It gives you the skills to be able to manage whatever uh, income, investment, whatever your return, your resources is, it gives you that benefit to literally manage what you have uh, as relates to the budget and all of that. So I've seen people who own houses that they never thought that they could own houses. Matter of fact, one of the things that I do, I started investing in real estate property, and so I always encourage my renters that I'm willing to help you purchase this if you would
Wow.
like, because it's more better for you to own this house than to rent this house.
Exactly right.
You may be paying me $700 or $800 a month, in rent, but you
Mhm.
probably could be owning it for $600 or $700 a month, and it's yours. There's a benefit to that, but what I have learned that you have to do, because of the lack of financial literacy, especially in my area, is you have to walk people through those baby steps
Mhm.
of owning a home.
That's right.
I have literally, not myself. I got my daughter to help me out with that. She's more like my property management manager, but she literally have walked people through those baby steps
Wow.
of owning a home, setting up an email for them, connecting them with the mortgage company. She's the go-between person from the mortgage company to the candidate for buying a home,
Wow.
and she helped them through that process, and so there's the benefit of that is that you can build wealth, you can have ownership
Mhm.
of things that you never thought that you could. So there's most definitely it's a benefit to understand uh, financial wealth, and so I that's what I believe.
Yeah. And so let's talk about home ownership,
Hmm.
because that seems to be something now that people really don't have. They don't even aspire to do that, right? Um, and again, I know we could talk about societal issues and things of that nature. We could talk about a lot of things. But I think a lot of people have lost the desire for home ownership. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why do you think that is? And again, I understand it may be the fact that the journey. And so we definitely, if you have any information for your daughter, we definitely want to say, hey, reach out to Superintendent Thomas's daughter. I don't know the name of her business, but definitely let me know. We could definitely put it in the chat so that she can help other people, because I'm quite sure that'll be something that can, people that will actually want that.
Hmm.
But when it comes to home ownership, it seems like a lot of people prefer renting, because the people that I speak with, because one of the things that we do when we're helping people do what we call estate planning, so we're helping people make sure that they have the right amount of life insurance. And one of the questions that we ask them are you a homeowner or not? And when I ask them that, the majority of people are not, and it's okay. But then I ask them this question. I'm like, would you like to leave some money back so that your family can establish a home? That way they can have their home house. Again, you can basically make sure that your family jumps into home ownership. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't know about that, because if something breaks down, um, then it's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't have anybody that I can go to. And that kind of blows my mind, because I'm like, as you said earlier, people don't know that they're paying you $700 to $800 a month just to rent and have nothing to show for it at the end of it. But they could actually buy that home for $500 to $600 a month and it be there. So talk to me about that. Have you seen that, or how have you helped people overcome that mindset?
Well, uh, I think one of the things too that goes along with that process is one, preparation. You have to prepare yourself to buy a home. Of course,
Mhm.
you have to have a credit score. Sometimes they say anywhere between 640 to 650. And so that means that if you riding at a credit score of about 575, it's a
Hmm.
good possibility you're not going to be able to buy a home at that
Exactly
particular
right.
time. But
Exactly.
at the same, so the process, the journey may be a little slow for you, when you have to get all of your ducks in order. And that could be a process. And maybe some people might feel that, well, what's the use? I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But that process, if you would work on that process, you'll find yourself possibly within a year's time, almost you can take your credit score up from almost up 100 points, depending on uh, your situation, depending on your credit cards and all of these things like that. But a lot of people don't know that. They just look at the credit score and then they be discouraged and say, okay, how in the world am I going to get this credit? Well, there's possible there's a possibility you can get that credit score up there. And uh, that's another whole conversation on how to get it up there,
Exactly.
because it may require for you, sometimes you can not have any credit at all, and no credit at all is really almost like bad credit. So now
Mhm.
you have to go out and get your credit card, but don't max it out.
That's right.
You just, if it's a $500 credit card, don't charge no more than $250 on it, and just keep on making those monthly payments, and then
Exactly right.
eventually you're going to move that credit score up. So I think it's a process. And then another thing that we don't like to talk about is the fact that we still have uh, unfair lending out there, as far as our people. It's just so much more difficult uh, to get loans, and to go to the bank, go to the mortgage company. It's just honestly, to be just to be real about it, it's just so much more difficult for us to go into a mortgage company and apply,
Mhm.
and then we get turned down. And then once you get turned down one or two times, then that kind of almost just kills your spirit. And but
Exactly right.
what you have to do is you have to keep on fighting, because
Exactly.
you deserve that opportunity to own a home, and just like everyone else, to something that you can call your own. And that's one of the biggest investments that you can ever make in your life, is buying a home.
That's right.
I mean, you can go and own Cadillac Escalade that may cost you 80, 90, $100,000.
That's right.
But that's nothing like owning your own home. I don't
Exactly
care if your
right.
home being cost for $80,000.
That's right.
So, it's just so much in owning a home that people don't know. But I would encourage people, don't give up.
That's right.
Don't give up the fight. This last home that I bought just a year and a couple of months ago, this was my retirement home. I had got turned down 5 times to lenders, to 5 different lenders. And I literally saw the uh, the unfair lending process of this whole thing. You probably wouldn't believe it, but one of the uh, lenders, and we were just talking by phone, and I messed around and sent them my income tax for the last 2 years, and everything, my W-2s, and I sent them everything that they needed. And when they got the application on how much the house was going to cost, and how many square feet it was, the individual called me the next week and said, this is the VA loan that you're doing.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if VA, and this was you. I'm just going to throw this name out there. This was Veterans United. They
Mm.
deal with 90% of their
Mm.
loans are veterans loans.
Exactly right.
But he gonna tell me, how is it that you think that the VA is gonna give you a loan for that amount? And I thought you just said you and your wife was living in the house. Why do you need 6,000 square feet? And so Soon as he told me that, and I probably could have reported that and did all of this
Exactly
things
right.
that come with this here. But what I did, my wife, after the conversation, I said we might as well to keep on looking for another lender,
Right.
and that's what we did. And right after that, then God opened a door for us to be able to get the loan somewhere around that sixth time. So what I'm saying, you don't give up.
Exactly right.
Although people will deny you, reject you, and come up with all type of excuses. Once you know that you have done your part as far as credit score, you got you got your tax information, squared away. You got your W-2s and all this. You got all of the tools that you need and all of the resources that you need. And when they keep turning you down, you just keep on going back for more,
Exactly.
because there is a benefit. And I think at the end of the day, uh, that's where wealth transfer come in at.
Exactly right.
And if the truth be told, people don't want to see you transfer generational wealth. They want you to just stay where you are. They don't want to, because in insurance, if you got insurance and you've investing in properties, or even you have a life insurance policy, how many of us uh, that's people of color that that was left an inheritance,
Exactly.
was left a home
Uh-huh.
that was worth 300,000, $400,000,
That's right.
or you were left with an inheritance for $100,000, $200,000. How many of us can say we had something like that?
Yeah.
No, not one.
Yeah.
There may be few far in between,
Yes, sir.
but most of the time we have to work for what we have.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I told my family is that if I didn't give you what you need here on this earth, I want to be able to leave you something when I leave here.
Exactly.
And so that's generational wealth. I bought this house that we're in, and yes, it's a huge house, but you know what? It's not necessarily just for me,
That's
but
right.
it's for my family.
Exactly
And,
right.
and that's how you got to look at life. You have to look at your wealth as you passing it down to your children's children.
That's right. And see, but you just opened up Pandora's box, right? You really did, because it goes back to that. It goes back to the patriarch of the family knowing where he wants his family to be, right?
That's right.
Um, Again, I'm old enough to remember, and again, I'm still surprised that you're the age that you are, but I'm not going to argue with you about it. I know you know better than I do. But I can remember growing up, there was the pride that came from home ownership. And as a result of that, what you saw a continued conversation about, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to have good credit, you don't need to go crazy spending things in that nature, keep your credit utilization low. All of these things, again, as you stated earlier, the old saints told us this, right? They told us this. But I think what happened was somewhere between Big Mama and them and our folk, we got a little educated, and in our education, um we felt like somebody owed us something, and so instead of doing what it takes to actually play the game and taking the same information that Big Mama gave them that allowed Big Mama them to have a house. Now, again, you said something earlier. Mississippi County up there in Arkansas at one point in time in the county had 20,000 people. It doesn't have that now. And
Right.
so what that means is a lot of time people are headed to the glitz and the glamour. So the house, the property, the land that Big Mama them had, that Pawpaw them left behind, what they do with it? They did it just like who was it? Esau with his birthright. It didn't mean anything to them.
That's
And
right.
because it didn't mean anything to them, they just sold it for cheap.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that we've got to get back to, because again, I believe that home ownership is paramount in building strong communities, strong families.
Yes, sir.
And
It
I'll
is.
tell you why. Because there's a measure of pride that comes about when you have home ownership. You don't have to have a homeowners association in order to come out there and tell you, hey man, you can't have 3 or 4 cars with the engines hanging out of them and all that there. You know, there's a certain measure of pride when, again, as a family, you've entered into that realm of home ownership. And so give me I heard what you said, and that's just phenomenal. That house that you bought is really not for you, it's for your family. Talk to us about that.
Well, one of the things that I want to go back to what you were saying is that as it relates to family and home ownership, is that you have to, when you own a home, you have to invest in your home. You,
Exactly.
although you invest in, you paying a mortgage and all of that, but you have to also invest in the upkeep,
That's
the
right.
upgrades,
That's right.
the changes that need to be made. Uh, you know, I buy and sell properties. Sometimes I flip them. Sometimes I buy them to rent out. But I tell people this here: if you bought a house and you had that house for 10 to 20 years and you never put anything into that house, you just lived in that house, chances are when you get ready to sell that house, you probably gonna get less than what you paid for it.
Exactly right.
But if you turn around and every year, every other year, put some type of upgrade into the house, then there's a possibility that within 10 years or 20 years, you can double the amount of money if you sold the house,
Exactly
because
right.
you're investing in that, and you're going to get a good return because you continually to invest into that. You put money into that.
Exactly.
And so that's one thing that I would just want to say about owning the house. And therefore, in 20 years, if you can walk away with, you purchased a house for $100,000, but in 20 years you can sell it for 200,000,
Yes.
and now you have walked away with wealth.
That's
And
right.
sometimes you can't even bring that much money to the table, if you had a job that was paying a 401k payment plan, that kind of money. So
Exactly.
that's why I said the housing market is the one of the biggest ways to have generational wealth. It
Indeed.
starts in that home.
Indeed.
I played the stock market when I was working at the steel mill, but I just was getting out of the steel mill and full-time ministry in 2008 when the market crashed.
Yes.
I lost half of my money.
Yes.
I didn't have in 12 years just from working at the steel mill. I'm don't mind sharing this. I had $300,000 in 12 years that I had saved up, and the company put in to the 401k plan, to the profit sharing program. But just a matter of that, because of the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting, well, it's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce back, and it's going to bounce back. I lost a little over $150,000, something that took me 12 years to save, and it
Exactly.
took me on a few months to lose it
Exactly.
before I decided to move it to something that was a little bit more safer. So, uh, real estate, home buying is something. It's almost a win-win situation.
Exactly right.
It's win-win. There's just no way around that. You're gonna, if you got a home, it's going to be a benefit to you owning a home opposed to renting that. And I don't know if I answered that question, but I wanted to share that uh, about that home ownership and that generational wealth
Yes.
through home buying.
That's right.
Um, and so another thing is too that I try to uh, I try to, even the last few houses that I bought and I flipped, I was looking for people who I felt that needed a home.
Wow.
And sometimes when I buy a house while I'm remodeling the house, people all over, because the market in our town is it's a very, very slow market as
Mm.
far as people buying homes, building homes. It was almost non-existent. I just saw within the last month, we got 2 houses being built that I know of in Osceola. And I count that's a miracle because I hadn't seen that in a long time.
Wow.
But in the process of people, I try to do my best to try to help people to own homes. And I'm telling you, they so happy when I walk them through them steps and through the process of doing that. I get something out of that, not just the money that I receive from flipping the house, but I get joy out of seeing people owning a home.
Exactly right.
Yes, sir.
That's tremendous though, because let's just talk from a business standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Having renters is literally generational income. That's
Mm-hmm.
income coming in. But the fact that you have a desire to help people get to home ownership just speaks to your character. It
Yeah.
speaks to the God in you, and it speaks to that's legacy
That's
building.
right.
Um, a lot of times, people, especially, preachers get a bad rap because it's like they're all about the money. But again, when we have those that look past that and look to sow into your life, you don't even, we don't get those people that we can pat on the back and kind of give them their flowers while they live. But that's phenomenal. And I think that kind of takes us to the last point. And again, we're right about that 30-minute mark. And but I just want to talk about the differences that you feel are between financial literacy, if there are any differences, and kingdom stewardship.
Well, so when you look at the fact that financial literacy, it helps you to manage what you have.
Yes, sir.
If you of the Christian faith that believe in giving and sowing, then you have a greater opportunity to give when when you've been good stewards
Mm-hmm.
over what you have.
Exactly right.
I think, and I do believe that it might be an excuse that a lot of people think that uh, they don't tithe, they don't give because maybe they got too many bills. I got too many other issues over here.
Right.
But just like anything else in life, and you and myself, we've been around long enough that we know how to make ends meet. We
Yes,
know
sir.
how to make things do.
Yes, sir.
And it's really the same way with personal finance, business finance. It's the same way, really. Is that at the end
Exactly.
of the day, people are gonna do what they want to do with their money. But if you are a good steward
Mm-hmm.
and you manage your money well, then that's when you can be a cheerful giver, a
Exactly.
liberal giver, because you understand that God has blessed you and
Exactly.
you don't have a problem with blessing others. And so I think that they go hand in hand,
Mhm.
financial literacy and stewardship. It goes hand in hand, and because you want to be a blessing, you want to be able to sow into other people's lives. You want to be able to be a giver,
Exactly.
and I always say it like this here, and I shared this with the church, is that God's blessing is like as it flows to you, it's like a crinkle water hose. You know how you get a water hose? I got a it was a water hose that I was over at somebody's house doing some work last week, and it was a real flimsy water hose that the heat had kind of melted, and it had about 20 crinks in it. I couldn't even get no water out the thing. Well, that's what happens when God bless you with something and you're not good stewards over what He bless you with.
That's right.
It prevents you from allowing the blessings of God to flow through
Exactly.
your life. And so it's like turning on a faucet, but the line is crinked. It
Mm-hmm.
can't get to the next person. But when you allow through financial literacy, stewardship, if you allow God to bless you in your areas of finances, then you understand about giving. You understand about being a blessing and helping. And so you allow God blessings just to flow through you to somebody else. Because the truth be told, when God blesses you, how is he going to bless you? He's going to bless you through man.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to bless you. Somebody is going to pour out their bosom and they're going to bless you.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to come up to you and say, you know what? God told me to, give you the money for this. God told me. And so, but if you are in a bad situation, even as a believer, that you're living from paycheck to paycheck,
That's right.
you're in a financial bind, then the blessings of the Lord cannot flow through you.
Exactly right.
So I want to be that individual where, God want to bless somebody with something over here, whether it's knowledge, whether it's buying a home, whatever the case may be. I want to be that individual that God said, I can trust you. I'm going to give you what it takes, whether through knowledge or whether through material, money, whatever the case may be. I'm going to give it to you because I know you're going to share it with others. And that's how I feel about those two connecting with one another.
Absolutely.
Financial literacy and good stewardship.
That's powerful. I often tell people, and I utilize the parable about the talent. And I think there's so much power there.
It is.
Because when Jesus gives us that parable, he said there was one that had 5, there was one he gave 2, and there was one fella that he gave 1. And what I thought about in that was the Lord knows what each one of us is capable of.
That's right.
He knows the propensity that we have. And so when he gave the one 5, he knew that that fellow was industrious enough to go and bring back more. When he gave the one 2, he didn't overwhelm him with stuff, but he gave him just enough to be able to go and bring back and duplicate. And I think that's kind of where you were heading to, because when it can flow, it can duplicate. When it flow, it can grow. But then you had that one person that had the one talent. And what he did, he took it and buried it. And where I really harp on with that is that a lot of the times I think we gloss over what the master is saying. He was like, man, you could at least put my money in the bank. You could have at least gotten me some interest on what it was that I gave you. Even if you didn't bring me back another whole talent, bring me back something. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think we've gotten comfortable now, whether it be in the church or out in the streets, where we bury it, and then we make excuses saying, well, I know you're a hard man, Lord, and you ain't want to lose your money. I didn't want to lose what you gave me. And in essence, instead of us being industrious, we sit by on the side and bury our talent. And again, a lot of the people that I deal with, I've even had individuals that I've talked with, a superintendent, that have said this. I mean, as a man, this is unfathomable and unconscionable to me. But I've had a man tell me, man, look, I ain't leaving nothing behind for her to be laying up with no other dude.
Yeah, I heard that.
Wait, what?
My daddy, my father himself, God bless his heart, he's no longer with us. But one of the things that I remember him saying many years ago, when people, insurance agents was coming around, they would come to the old people house. And my dad said this right here: I'm not leaving nothing behind for y'all to fight over. That's what he said. That's the mentality that he had. But thank God that I don't have that mentality of my father. I have lived and I've learned. But I would like to, one of my last words, I was just thinking while you were just talking there. If you ask the average person what is money used for,
mm-hmm.
the average person gonna say money made to be spent.
Yep.
But that's the biggest myth we ever heard.
Exactly right.
Because money is made to make money.
Exactly right.
That's why they call it currency. It has to keep rolling. It has to keep
Exactly right.
producing itself.
That's right.
And so when we learn that principle,
Mhm.
then we can truly be better, as it relates to financial literacy.
Exactly right. Well, look, Superintendent, this has been just amazing for me. And again, I'm super excited about coming up to Osceola there on the 29th.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
so, for those of you that are in the Osceola area, we hope to see you there on the 29th of April there at Living Word Cathedral Church of God in Christ. Again, we're looking to have a great time. It begins at 10 a.m. from 10 a.m. to noon. And again, we're going to just be sharing concepts, principles about how to build generational wealth. Because again, it's past time for
Yes, sir.
us to build generational wealth. So again, Superintendent, thank you so much for your time. To those of you out there, I hope that you would like, share, pass this on to someone, and we look forward to seeing you on the next time. Until then,
God bless you, sir.